Recording started. We should be streaming. Thinking about it. I don't know if we're streaming or not. It gives me a red. I don't know if we are.
You are live.
Okay. It's saying that there's a red thing there, so maybe that's that we're recording or something. I don't know. I always remember it being green for when it's being okay. In any case, hello all, and welcome to the 22nd live stream. That means we've been doing this for over a year, every 2 weeks, for your enjoyment and partially our enjoyment, I suppose. Yes, the sun's going down behind me, so I'm kind of all lit up that way. Today we have a special treat, and it's kind of appropriate that the sun is completely blotting out my face. One of the main things today that has changed in Rank War Master is our current push for making the game look more polished. And one of the biggest things I've been working on is adding a lighting system to the game. And while by no means is this finalized, it has opened up a lot of opportunities within the game. So without further ado, I actually want to show everybody what has been going on and let people see what has happened. So let me start the game up, and hopefully we'll get people in.
Volumes are good.
That's good. Although I guess with OBS I gotta switch it over. Thinking about it. Okay, why isn't OBS picking up the game? Alright, let's try that again. There it goes. Not picked it up. You know how OBS is random, it does what works when it wants to work. But, yeah, can't complain too much, I guess. Alright. Server is up. Now, with the selection of the ship, I have put an extra ship in there because I want to show off different things. There's the normal beam ship, which is more towards the newer technology web that Adam did, meaning on the scaling. The pulse ship is still the old type. I didn't have a chance to be able to put that in. But the beam ship, the old beam ship, is to give a better perspective of what's actually happening here. So, if someone could take an autocannon ship and someone could take, since there's three of us right now, I guess I'll take the old style one then, just so we can see what this is going to look like. All right, so Matt's the War Master.
I had to remind my firewall that yes, this game I've played repeatedly for months is in fact a thing I want to allow.
Ah. So Jordan, we'll wait for you to come in then. So I will come in with the smaller ship. Adam redesigned the opening game ship, so I want to, but I want to show in comparison what the old one looked like versus the new one, so we can understand what's actually happening here. So Jordan, I assume you're on your way in?
Just about. I'm just waiting for the last couple graphics to load.
That's fine.
Okay, yep, it was just the firewall. Cool.
Yep. All right. So, Jordan, I want you to take a beam old.
Okay, old beam. Gotcha.
Old beam.
Okay.
There you go. All right.
I was. Can you remind me what we're doing with the chips? I was a little focused on fixing it.
Well, that's what we're going to demonstrate. We're going to demonstrate the new lighting system.
Okay, gotcha. So does
So,
it matter that we're playing with no enemy?
no, it doesn't, and we're going to end up restarting anyway. I just
Buddy
wanted
entered your channel.
to, you know, just start
Okay.
doing the demonstration and such.
Gotcha. Okay.
Then we'll worry about the enemies and things of that nature.
Hello.
Hey, how's it going there, Ogre? Should we wait for you to join in? That way you can...
If you're ready to start, then yes, I will be joining in momentarily.
Yes, the server's up where I was about to hit start, and then you joined in. So, okay, well then we'll wait a few seconds.
Okay, cool. That was just on my end.
So, Ogre, out of curiosity, do you wish the new ship that Adam built, or the old obnoxiously powerful ship? That was the old thing.
Well, I mean, both have their benefits.
They do?
It's our style, Ogre.
I do like overwhelming firepower.
Yes, it's going to be unbelievably overwhelming firepower, honestly, in comparison. I mean, it's like a between
Is
10
that
and
the one you
100
had me
difference.
jump in?
Excuse me?
Is that the one you had me jump in? Old beam ship?
Yeah, that's the overpowered thing from the old
Okay.
day. I wanted to show comparisons. There's a reason for this. So,
I
into
think we know where you're going with this, but I don't want to spoil it.
right. So, yeah. Now, the flip side of this, though, is we're looking for a game balance thing, so it might be better for Ogre to be in the new, what's expected to have ship starting ship versus the old
If Ogre
overpowered
wants to
ship.
play the old beam ship, he can have it. I'll switch.
Well, no, Jordan, this is a matter of game balance.
Oh.
So it's a matter of, yes, one's going to be more obnoxious, the other one's going to be more, no, this is what we're going to start with. Is it too much? Is it too little? Is it that kind of thing? And I kind of want those opinions, if you will. Um, since you're usually in the nav screen, this won't matter as much. Ogre likes to run around pilot things and shoot things. His
Gotcha.
opinion carries its own weight for what it is, if that makes sense.
The new ships are supposed to be designed a little bit more towards that, tier 0, you can't really kill buildings with these model of idea.
Kind of, yeah. That's the idea. But actually, one of the discussions I want to have today is how hard should it be to kill a building versus I have stupid amounts of firepower. I look at you cross-eyed and your entire base explodes. That's nice and all, but it'll become a boring game. So that's kind of where I'm coming from there. Okay, thank you, Ogre. We shall start, finally. All players are ready.
I'm assuming you want me to get in and build some things for us to blow up.
Yes, actually. I march all those ready regardless of what you would like. Okay.
I can do that.
For those of you that have ships, someone's playing around. I guess it was Jordan.
That's because of the control thing.
Yeah. So, one of the first things I want you to notice is when you fire your weapons, your nose probably is glowing. If you get down close to Jordan, before you start building things, it actually won't really matter. Could you? I want to show comparisons. So, this is me firing across the terrain. Let's see if I can get a little bit closer so I can
Let me
get a
get
little.
down there. It's also what I did a building so the builder bot will go down there.
Right. So someone came in the pulse ship, I know. I hope. Since I'm the face of this thing,
Right, I believe I see you, Bert.
Yeah. So if I fire across this beam, if you look closely, we can see that although the ship is glowing because my beams are close by.
Yep.
Now this is for those with epileptic problems. This is a different kind of issue. Watch this. When the builder decides to build a building.
I have frozen.
I had a crash.
Oh,
Yep.
great.
Uh,
Did the builder just start building?
Yeah, and it's like we didn't test this, because of course we tested it, and of course it didn't come up in testing. If someone wrote something in chat, I can't see it.
Yeah, I crashed as well.
I'm not taking spam calls now. So Matt, what happened?
in create building, the installation struct was null. You were trying to find the item info for, I'm guessing, the building.
Of course. So do a quick patch, or everybody come back in and we'll continue this.
Oh yeah, we're not going to build any more things. We're doing a different demonstration.
Yeah, let's do the other demonstration, then I'll do a code patch, and then we'll do whatever.
We really should get a nice graphic for these points so we can put it up over the stream. Just suppose we'll be right back. Maybe some funny little image of like Arthur screaming at a computer.
Yeah. Remember how I told you real quick that I fixed the armor issue that went across the network? Obviously it didn't. So it's like, great. So, who has a pulse weapon? And I think it's Jordan. If you can, find my ship, get next to me, and I want to do a beam comparison. Sort of a check, if you will. All right, someone... Matt, are you still paused? There you go, thank you.
I crashed out and attempted to
I
join.
crashed in the same space, in the same spot, trying to rejoin.
Yeah, I crashed rejoining.
Of course.
Also worth noting, the stream. I hate to pile on, but the stream is like 2 minutes behind.
Yeah, it's, like I said, it's showing up as red, so it doesn't surprise me that it's having its own cow. 2 minutes behind?
We haven't crashed yet in the stream.
Okay. Well, we're getting a decent throughput, but I don't know why it's set to be so delayed. Maybe it's a Twitch thing.
Oh, okay, so I figured out why it's crashing. The flag is sending it to the wrong chunk of the create building code. And that's coming through the network.
No, that's not quite it, but all right. All right. I'm gonna go to quickly undoing the change I did. Matt, just as a test.
Okay.
Let's see if I can. Of course, I can't see it. If you go to line in the building.c file,
Yep.
1134. You should see an item, find item by ID thing there.
1134 or
11,
oh,
yes, 1134 on building.c or buildings.c. Never mind, I'll just do
yes.
it and I'll commit it.
Okay, that's the spot that it was crashing. What am I doing there?
I'll just commit it and be done with it. Alright, it's been updated. This just removes the piece that was going to cause a problem, and obviously it wasn't sufficiently tested, so yeah. Joys of live stream demo.
Okay, I'll have the XCs up in a moment.
Thank you. Now the other good news is we actually do have shields on 4 of the newer ships. So that means they should be usable by people.
Excellent.
So we'll try this again. I was trying to resolve the armor issue, and obviously it's not appropriately resolved. So yeah. Guess installation isn't sent across the network, and so it doesn't know. I have to look into it, I guess. Which unfortunately means that the other builds are probably going to be hyper weak in comparison. We'll see what happens. So I don't know how much testing we'll be able to do, but we'll see. Maybe we'll have to do the testing part, and we'll go from there. All right, let me.
Okay, the new AXEs are up.
Excellent, thank you. I will tell OBS to
Got it.
switch back to the game, and we'll try that again. The joys of live streams.
Look, on the plus side, if they the crashes didn't happen, you might not find the bugs.
Yeah. But then why does it have to work everywhere but the live stream?
You know the answer to that.
Yeah, I do know the answer to that.
Anyone who's been in gaming or just worked with computers long enough.
Yeah, not to name names, but as annoyed as I might be, it's minor annoyance in comparison. I know we all know of a major release that just hit a massive brick wall, and I do feel for them because they've been crunching for a very long time, and they still hit a brick wall. You know, and like I said, I feel for them. All right, I'll just name it. You know, my heart goes out to you, CD Projekt Red. I know where you're coming from. I'm pulling for you, seriously. You know.
Exactly.
All right. So same idea. Matt, we're up, by the way. So Jordan, if you just want to be in the nav screen, do you want to do the do you want to be the obnoxious demonstrator, or you prefer to be something else?
No, I can do the obnoxious demonstrator.
Okay. Matt, were you trying to be your own War Master? Because you're on beta. There you go.
We talked about doing some demonstrations, and then we probably start again without the obnoxious ship.
Sure. Okay, so Adam has the pulse ship. Does anybody else want to be a pulse ship? Just for ha-has, since we have 3 beam ships. Unless, Adam, you want to... okay, or whoever else. Mostly I want some demonstrations of what we're about to do here. Okay, so we'll start in.
This I'm just going to tell the builder about to move to the surface. I'm not going to have it...
No, have it build something. I want to see if it's going to work, if that patch worked or not.
Okay.
I mean, if it didn't, then it didn't. So I see one of the. I guess it's Adam. Hi, Adam. So I'm gonna fly up to Adam. And Adam's like, he is the knight because he's on the opposite side of the sun. But as I fire beams past him, he glows, and he glows based on where my beams go across him. It's easier said than done. So Adam, would you kindly move your nose towards me and fire across my nose, not up it? Now, as you can see, yeah, I asked for not up it.
Alright. I technically did not hit your model with that.
It did. You took out my engines.
I mean, it definitely hit you, but I wasn't actually like aimed at your actual like just model. I saw it.
I'm also point blank range.
Well, you know what they say: keep firing.
Yes.
Guys.
All right, now you got my engines again.
Oh my god! I wish I was streaming right there.
Yeah.
Well, you're glowing quite prettily as you fall from the sky.
Yes, I am. Let me heal myself because I can. Okay, so as you can see, I'm firing this way. Adam's firing up your rear end. Let's call it what it is. Now, Jordan, I want to do a beam comparison, shall we? Let's get closer to the surface so this is a lot more impressive. Okay, so if I get down here, now you were able to build a building without it popping, so that's a good measure. No one said that they crashed. So I'm firing across the terrain, and as the beams get close to the terrain, I get, some glow, as you would expect. So I'm gonna get really close. We can actually see this. So Jordan, would you do a similar comparison? Let's see where you are. Here you are, Jordan.
I'm right behind you.
Oh, okay. Would you be so kind as to fire your weapons? As a obnoxious comparison. So fire across the terrain rather than just there you go. So I want to put it in the comparison. That's Jordan firing the older ship with the much higher beam weapons. Now stop for a second. You see how much how the valley's lighting up? See how when I'm firing, the valley's not lighting up? That's because my beam weapons are not doing anywhere near as much damage as his beam weapons are. And so the glow is completely based on the amount of damage your weapons are doing. That's true of the pulse weapons too. So when Jordan fires, I think they're doing something like 200 damage, and I'm doing like 10. So he's doing 20 times the damage, therefore it's 20 times the light source.
Remember also, I guess for the viewers, you may be seeing Arthur's, ship screen occasionally just light up bright red.
Yes.
I am firing in Arthur's relative general direction. I would not even really call this across his nose. Just sort of, I can see Arthur on my screen, and I click fire.
Yeah, he's firing above me. Now, what's funny, whoever's got the pulses, start shooting at the ground near us. If you would, please, make sure you get close enough so that she's hitting. Now, what's fun about those is they're also are their own light source. So if they were close to the ground, they fired across it, you would actually see these lights. As a matter of fact, because you park yourself in that mountain and fire down the valley so that the shots skim the terrain, if you will. The thing about lighting is you need to see what's near. So there we go. So hold down the fire button just for amusement value. And you can see how ridiculous all that light is. Now, more importantly, if we can get close enough to the... if you would, don't blow up the reactor yet. Actually, Jordan, could you build one more building that is not a reactor? And whoever's got a pulse cannon, could you fire across, not up it, the reactor, so that we could see its...
Oh, the best part is when I'm switching to the nav screen and I'm in the god position in time to watch the bloom fade for my own shot.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. All right. That's why I asked you not to do Thank you.
Guess I'll build another reactor. Real quick.
Please stop doing that.
Oh, you're spawning a reactor. I didn't realize you were doing that.
I'm asking you not to build a reactor. I just healed the other one. But I'm asking the other people who are constantly... I'm trying to do a demonstration, and yeah.
So there's a warehouse that's going to go down. I'm sorry, Arthur. I saw it blow up. I'm like, okay, guess I need another one now.
You know, I just need a normal building, and you ruined the surprise. Thank you, guys.
Alright, there's a warehouse.
All right. One of you, please blow up the warehouse. Let me get into a good camera position so I can see this.
Builder bot out of there.
Yes.
Unfortunately, I still can't seem to take screenshots, so I'll have to figure out why that is at some point.
Fair enough.
Trying to
Is
screenshot.
anyone going to shoot the warehouse or no? There we go. Okay. So that's what the new thing looks like. Here, I'll heal it back up again. Let's don't have the builder bot building anything just so we can.
Yeah, I was trying to move it away.
Right. Well. All right. Take out the warehouse again, please. Okay. So now you can see what a warehouse looks like when it goes up. Now, what I wanted Ogre to do was to take out one of the reactor. That was his present. Let's see if I can get to the proper warehouse here. And you can see how much bigger of a explosion that is. I'm going to get to a much further distance.
I've never felt more satisfied watching my own stuff go up in flames.
Yeah, so I put back in the warehouse, and so now I'm pretty decently far away. Would you please blow up the warehouse first, and then one of the reactors? All right, so you saw what the normal building goes, what it looks like when it goes up, and so you please blow up one of the reactors, please. And don't you love it how like most of the world just like appears and sees the big
let me
boom?
Do that again. Let me get way zoomed out on the nav screen.
Sure. All right, I respawn things back in. Again,
All right.
please. So the warehouse. Actually, let me do the same thing. Don't blow up the other reactor yet. I'm gonna show everybody else what it looks like on the nav screen, which I am now here doing. So please do it again.
Nice. It definitely lights up the valley.
Yeah, I'm gonna zoom out. I'm gonna try it again. Blow up the reactor.
I think I should be zoomed out further for this one.
Yes. Whoa! Yeah, that worked much better.
You can't fail to notice that.
No, you can't fail to notice that. So here's another fun one. If you go into configuration now, under navigation screen, you can actually now assign the mouse wheel to zoom in and out on the nav screen. Also, the right mouse button is a better control for the nav screen now. So if I use the right mouse button, I can rotate around very cleanly. And the other fun thing is if I hold down the WASD keys, they accelerate me. So if you need to get someplace, it'll keep going faster and faster and faster and faster, rather than having to zoom out and do some other funky things to get there. So the controls for this are much, much nicer now. So if you want, destroy the rest of the now I'm pretty zoomed out in the nav screen right now. If you would please destroy the rest of the base. Now I'm watching the fire from here. Okay, I can tell the reactor went up. That's kind of easy.
Actually, the other two buildings went up close in time to each other. So.
All right, yeah. So let's try that again. Here I'll change angles again.
Really nice zoom now with the mouse wheel.
Oh yes.
I love it.
That's definitely the idea. So, and the WASD keys are much better for moving around now. Okay, proceed to kill things one at a time, please. That's definitely a building going up, somewhat behind the mountain. That's definitely a reactor going up.
Wow.
So that was my President Ogre. That's what I didn't want to tell him
Nice.
about because sort of like I wanted that to be a surprise. That's why I was very disappointed when someone just decided to blow shit up.
I don't know if this is a bug or a feature. When I zoom out enough that that I can't really make out features of the land,
Yeah.
it just whited out my whole screen when the reactor went up.
Yes. All right, I'll show everybody what we're talking about with that.
Like when I can zoom in to see land features, instead of whiting out my whole screen, it created shadows and stuff. And
Yeah.
do the same thing.
So I'm zoomed out enough on the nav screen, if you would please, so that literally I can see the curvature of the planet, I can see the red parts of the planet, etc. So could you please kill the base again?
That warehouse doesn't look like much at this distance. Oh wow.
Yeah. That fun.
I mean, I love it, Arthur, but it might be a little bit much.
Ah, you can't say it's too much.
Because the problem is, I hate to be that guy, but I see that, and my only thought is my entire base must be gone.
Well, your reactor went up. Come on, it's dramatic. You know you love it.
I think 10% less.
Maybe. Okay, fine, maybe.
I don't think it shouldn't be dramatic, but I also shouldn't believe that my entire base is gone because one reactor went up.
True. But it should be big bada booms.
Oh yeah.
Sorry. Didn't realize the whole thing was
and
gone.
if we want to introduce a mechanic where that does damage to other buildings, that
Yes.
would be appropriate.
So what's fun is, even though it's all the way zoomed out, I could see everybody's pulses against the ground. I could see, oh, I must have disabled it. I could see everybody's, the light sourcing that we're doing even at that kind of distance, which is good. It shows that the new lighting system is working the way it's supposed to. So for those watching, every beam now is considered a line light source, which is why you see that across multiple things. So if I show this across the warehouse here, you can see that you can see the individual beam as a light source on it. Pardon me while I sneeze. That's true across all those other buildings, of course. Now, the different colors will be different, meaning as the beam or the pulses change color or anything else, so will the light sourcing. Now I matched the light source to whatever's firing, of course. That also means when the explosion goes up, with the exception of the reactor going up, it matches the explosion. So, for example, someone could take out the warehouse again, please. So its explosion matches the same color as the normal explosion. I'll admit the reactor explosion, I purposely made it not that way. That was my first test. Because originally I did, okay, let's do white and let's do it big. And all of a sudden it went, okay, that looked like a nuke going off. That was kind of fun, but that's not practical. But I went, why don't we keep that? It's got to be kept. So that was my little gift to you, Ogre, is to make an obnoxiously big explosion when a reactor goes up.
I appreciate it. It makes sense.
I know. So, woohoo! Now Jordan has the old beam style, so like I said, I'm firing across the valley here. You can see how it'll get a little bit of glow. But when Jordan fires, because it's the old thing, he's doing so much damage, it's lighting up the valley. And if you think about it, it makes sense. If you have a laser that's doing, terawatts of damage compared to like, a megawatt of damage, let's say, you'd expect it to light up the valley because it's just a really big, obnoxious gun. That's true
I
of the...
can't see it. If I fire straight up, how much lit up is everything?
Around you, quite a bit, but it doesn't only have a pretty radius around you. But like you said, you fire across the valley if you would. I mean, look how much everything's lighting up in the valley.
There we go. That's the sweet spot.
Yeah, look at that. Now, interestingly enough, that's considered one light source per beam weapon. So you have 3 of them, so there you go. But you see how obnoxious that really is. Now, Adam, correctly so, has readjusted the damage potentials of the weaponry. So now the starter T0 beam weapon is a candle in comparison. So part of the question was, how obnoxious should the lighting be? That's true of even the explosions of the buildings and other ships, for example. So if I come over to the builder bot, let's say, and I start to take it out. Although, could someone take out the builder bot since it's with the older armor? Select that.
How much armor does it have?
Well, you're not hitting it. Well, now you hit the. But look, all the pulses go past it. Where's firing the pulses is firing under it. There it goes.
Alright, temptation's too great. Pew.
Yep. So the point is, you see what's like when a ship blows up. But again, all these lights are attenuated, which means that the further you go, the less it affects things. So if there's nothing for it to reflect off of, you don't notice it. So if your beams go past something, or boom, you know, if your beam goes past something, or your pulses go past something, and they're close enough to pick up the light, you'll see the reflection, as you would expect light sources to do. But much like holding a candle in the middle of a field versus a bonfire, which is going to cast more light. The candle, more than like 5 or 10 feet, you're not going to see any reflection from it. Whereas when something much bigger is producing a light source, it has a much larger range. You might get miles out of it, depending on what happens.
Imagining, you fire the death weapon, and the enemy shall know it's too late when their ships start lighting up, but they don't know where it's coming from.
Yeah, and that's kind of the point. I mean, all seriousness,
Fire the mega railgun across space.
if you all right, so would be some kind of blow up one of the reactors again. That's the whole point. If you go crazy on some, you have, Jordan, would you fire at it since you have the obnoxious weapon, or even the pulse that works? But that's the point, though. You blow up this kind of stuff, and if someone fires the really big obnoxious gun, you want to see that, oh my gods, what the hell is he packing?
I'm just imagining a fleet sitting out in the middle of empty space, and then things just start getting brighter. It's like, oh no!
Wow. That's kind of what I want the big Uber gun to be at the end of the tech tree.
The death shot.
Yeah, that's actually the.
Obviously, it couldn't be a laser if it was that, but whatever. Mega railgun.
Well, that's what the cone weapons are supposed to be. Whenever they get coded in, but you know what I mean. It's meant to be. I really wanted the light sourcing to be commensurate with the amount of damage the weapon itself is doing. So part of the reason why the pulses are creating such an obnoxious. If you could, some of the fires and pulses across the buildings, please, so we can actually see the track. There we go. So you can see when they're firing. Keep firing, please. Different things are glowing as. Okay, that's not a good demonstration because they stop right before the warehouse because you fire closer towards the. Well, that works. Fire across the top of the reactor, please. But not into it. But you can see when the shots go near the different ships. Could you keep firing, please? Yeah, without blowing it up, because that's not helping me demonstrate.
Adam, if you ever tell me to put an apple on my head, I am leaving.
I swear to God, I'm not aiming at the building.
Buildings are bigger than your reticle is, dude. You can see where your shots are going. So the point is that the more damage a pulse does, for example, if you could fire again, try to miss. Thank you. So if you keep firing, if you notice, the light sourcing is completely based on. Keep firing, please. Is completely based on how much damage those pulses are doing. So again, if you have a pulse that's only doing light up stuff when it's only right on top of something, That's one thing. When you have much bigger pulses, they're gonna light up half the valley again. These pulses are doing what, 20 damage, I think. But even when you're firing it, the builder bot right next to you is glowing as the pulses go right past things. I'm sure I am too, which I am. And your nose is glowing, Rudolph. But you can see how that ends up looking. So if these pulses weren't doing anywhere near as much, we might not be glowing from it. Obviously, Adam's going to change out some of the coloring of the pulses themselves, so that we'll end up having, different colored pulses lighting up the sky. Now, what's also interesting is if you can fire at that ground again there, Adam. I purposely had the pulses when they impact turn the same color as the explosion. So you can see the orange hit and then the red of the explosion. And so you're seeing a mix of all that right there. Which makes it a lot more interesting. Adam, if you could be so kind as, for example, to shoot at the warehouse, since I know where you are, I want to show people what it looks like when you hit it. Alright, well, yes, they're set on very small armor right now. But the idea is that when those pulse shots hit, because you shoot below it, that way it's hitting the ground rather than it. Alright, see if we can get right about in there. Yeah, that's good enough. So keep firing there if you would, please. So the problem I was having was the pulses weren't looking very realistic, because when the explosions happened, the big brightness of that orange just disappeared and there was nothing. And so I made the individual explosions have their own light sourcing, at the same coloring as other things. And so you see the results there. And so what are the opinions of the light sources? Should they be brighter than they are? Should they be more obnoxious like the older versions of things? Also, what did you think of when the builder bot was building stuff? I've gotten different opinions, mostly my opinion and everybody else's, I guess, about whether or not the light sourcing is too epilepsy inducing or not. Jordan, could you build another building so we can see that again, please?
Sure.
For comparison's sake.
Yes.
The old beam ship.
Yes, that's Jordan's. Yep.
With what it's got on it. How does that where does that fall in the relative to what we're flying? Where does it fall as far as how much damage it's doing?
It's 200 versus 10.
As far as the tiers of technology, though.
That's a good question. Adam, at what point so that people in the live stream can see this is kind of what I'm having the current... now, did everybody see the flashing from that being built? Do people like that? Do people not like that? What would people like? As far as the flashing goes.
Strobe effects are not a great idea.
Okay.
I tone it down a bit, at least.
Percentage-wise, how much?
40.
I don't know, but it's very bright.
Okay, fair enough.
Tone it down by 40, and we'll see where it is from there.
Fair enough. This is useful.
User entered your channel.
Is it meant to be bleached out like that, or is it like meant to be white, or is it meant to be a different color?
No, it's meant to be white, because you're like building matter, effectively. I've actually come up with a very good idea of a new animation for building stuff, but it hasn't been implemented yet. I've only written it down like last night because it came to me.
Hey, Paul.
Excuse me? Hi, Paul.
Yes, I am online and I can join in. Let me know if I should try to launch and join in, or should I wait for
Not
the
right
game?
this second.
You wouldn't be able to join it anyway. We'd lock you out.
Okay.
So when we redo the server, we'll tell you.
Standing by then.
Yep. And so we were talking about the damage difference between the old beam ship and the new one is by 20. So the current beam ship, according to Adam, is doing 10 points damage, and the old one did 200 per second.
But then what Ogre was asking is okay, so if the 10 points of damage is tier 0, what tier is 200 damage?
Well, Adam, what's your answer, since only you would know that?
Let's see, so 40 times. That'd be basically somewhere between tier 2 and tier 3.
Tone the lighting back. Tone
Yeah.
the lighting back.
That's too bright for tier 2 or 3. Like, if
Yeah.
you're
Really? It's going up by like 20 times in 2 tiers, Adam?
It goes up 4 damage quadruples every tier.
All right, that's too much. You can't. That's ridiculous. Why would you? I can see doubling it, but why times 4?
Alright, can somebody stop firing? That makes it really hard to hear the conversation.
Sorry. um. No, my expectations, honestly, Adam, was so that at most it would double per tier, not times 4. Mostly because I was trying to keep the escalation down. That was the whole point of pulling it back from everything being 200 or so, was so that floats could handle the accuracy. And so we're times it by 4, we're kind of negating that progression. Does that make sense? Ideally, each tier should probably only go about 50%. That way they're commiserate with each other. So that, yeah, if you have tier 1, yes, it does significantly more damage, but it's not overwhelming. Times 4 is overwhelming by definition. I mean, if you have something that does 25, even 10 damage, and the next one does 40, that's a lot of a change. That's not even double, as you mentioned, it's quadrupling it. So so for me, for 200, I would expect that closer to, I guess, what would that be? 10 to 2. Let's see. 0, so it's tier 1 would be 20, 40,
4 and 5.
80, 160, and then it would be 32, so it would be between 4 and 5, yeah.
Well, let's. However, this discussion, as far as that part of it goes out,
Yeah.
To my point is basically, I would see that level of glow actually from like the high tier level stuff.
Yeah, that.
Well, I would agree.
Lighting up the valley, that should be near the end of the game.
I would agree. I would agree with that. And if we're, I still think to allow more tiers, having it go up by 50%, not even double, probably makes the most sense. So it might go from 10 to 15 to, I guess that'd be 22, and go up that way. I think would make the most sense. We don't want each tier to completely subsume the one before it, because people are going to be at mixed tiers. Now I can understand if you're going off to the moon, you're going off to Jupiter, having the tiers do something, but again, it's assumed that when you're going to those other places, they're going to be the newer tier anyway, and so you're kind of the new guy. If they're so overwhelming, you're coming in with greater forces because you had more resources than they did, but you should lose initially because their tech is higher than yours. So if it's like a times 2 or times 4, they'll just wipe the floor with you regardless of what the hell you do. I mean, I can't see how that would just cut right through an enemy, your own fleet if they're a tier higher than you are. So you come in with like a 50 or 100 ships, and they have like 10, they'd wipe the floor with everything you had. Wouldn't you agree? Comments? Anybody?
I think it's probably a conversation better had like offline to keep going with stuff with the live stream.
Fair enough. Okay. So there's that part of it. Now, the other main thing that I did as a change, again, was more for Jordan, since he's always in the nav screen. Now, the graphics in here do tend to be updated. This is by no means finalized. This is just the control cosmetic, if you will. The good thing about this is I can accelerate my movement just by holding down the key. So if I'm using WASD, I'm accelerating how quickly I'm moving. So you can see how slow I'm going, and then I'm going faster, faster, faster. That makes things, as far as moving around, a lot easier. As a good example, when we used to go check out the enemy base, it would be complete pain in the neck to get over there, because you'd have to go, okay, you'd have to zoom out, move forward at a steady pace, and zoom back in to get any type of acceleration. Otherwise, it'd be impossible to get there. Now, this is very, very different. Now, you're just holding the key, and you can get pretty far pretty quickly. Hell, if you really hold it, you can start going off the edge of the planet, which not too much hassle. The other thing is, as a request from from Jordan is the mouse wheel now very easily zooms in and zooms out. I don't.
Probably make that the default configuration, but
It is the default
wasn't that hard to
configuration.
change
What's that?
It's a default, but it wasn't. Gotcha.
You had to reload defaults because it wasn't saved yet. So honestly, I looked in there, and believe it or not, it was set to be default, but it had been commented out. I went, well, that's kind of annoying. Now, the mouse wheel wouldn't have done anything before that, but the control was in there. But it had been, if you notice, it wasn't actually in the listing before. It is now. So now the mouse wheel is much easier to zoom in and out and do the controls on that. That, to me, I think is kind of nice, actually. Jordan, you're the aficionado on the RTS side of it. What do you think?
In gameplay, it's pretty smooth, pretty easy. Visually speaking, over time, I want to introduce, like with the zoom, it should feel more like a smooth motion, rather than we're currently like it's every click of the scroll wheel, is a click out.
Okay.
But that's a visual thing. But in actually playing it, it's pretty smooth to use. It
Okay.
just could look a little better.
All right. Well, no, that's the thing. Then I can set an acceleration, if you will, on the zoom in, zoom out, saying you're going to go to this new thing and it'll be accomplished in X amount of seconds, let's say. So it's a matter of, okay, well, here's the question. It's every click of the mouse wheel, and that much I agree. But it is a fraction of a second. So the question then becomes, how long should it take per fraction? So I'm moving my mouse in and out very quickly. Obviously, you want the responsive rather than not. You know what I mean?
Right.
So it's got to be very quick. So you're right. I am jumping the zoom by a very fixed fraction. And you're saying it looks this. It doesn't. Isn't smooth, and I can't disagree. I guess I'll have to measure timings, how many milliseconds it's in between, and then say.
Tell you how other games manage to make it look smoother.
Okay. No, I can gather it. It's just a matter of I'm gonna have to do some timing things about it. Okay.
As to the WASD acceleration, I think that's like when we actually play and as I use it to try and get a look at things, I'll have to tell you how much fun or annoying that is.
Fair enough.
Right now, I've got nowhere to go.
Well, I mean, if I'm going out to, there's a ship out there. It's probably mine. No, it's a pulse thing, so it's probably either Matt or Adam. So you got two pulse ships. So who's this? Fire if you're Adam. All right, fire if you're Matt. Okay, well.
I didn't mean to do that. Sorry.
It's fine. So Adam, you're out here by yourself. I don't see any shots. Could you fire?
No.
Could you fire? Hello? Okay. I was seeing if the nav screen's working. Because, I mean, there's a ship out in the middle of nowhere here, and I assume that's you, Adam. Alright. I guess we're not doing that test.
What I meant by that is that, like, I haven't really tried, when there's like an enemy base, I'll have somewhere to try to go to, and I'll see if it's frustrating, or if it's frustrating, for example, if the acceleration makes me likely to overshoot the enemy base and have to go back, that's frustrating. If it's not that hard to control, then it's good. The space of like just a little bit isn't much of a test. So like over time, I will, like, meaning probably over the course of the next hour, I will tell you how it feels.
Fair enough.
But the scroll for now feels good.
Okay. So it feels good. You'd like it to be less bouncy. I'll make note of that. Right. What about, don't select anything because I know it'll end up moving things. Hold down the right mouse button to change angles and scroll it around.
Not great.
Still not great?
Not really. But one, it only goes up and down.
What's that?
It only goes up and down. I typically expect with a holding right mouse button that I could change some other angles.
On my screen, I'm able to rotate left and right and up and down. It's very much like every other RTS game I have.
I do not have that. I can hold right mouse button and I can move up and down.
Go to configuration, hit load defaults, and then come back in. And maybe that's why it's not being that way.
Okay.
Did it work or no?
I did not yet. Let me just. I hit the wrong. There we go. Okay. Yep.
Okay, now try it.
Let me see how it is.
Also, I eliminated the drift. Where you know sometimes you would hold down the right mouse button, it would keep turning regardless. I found the code where that was coming from, so it no longer does that kind of wackiness, which was always very annoying to me. That's why I always end up using the keyboard rather than the mouse. Now the mouse control works much better.
I feel like up and down should be reversed.
Okay, that's fine. Originally, it was reversed the other way too, so I can change that easily.
Other than that, I'm not really certain yet. I need to play with it like a lot.
All right.
Something feels a little off, but I can't put my finger on it just yet.
Fair enough. Fair enough. But these were just minor things that I was trying to do. At a certain point, I know Matt and I discussed putting a reverse on the axes in the configuration. I mean, underlying, it's actually set that way, but we don't actually have a way of doing that yet. That way you can reverse control, so if you don't like it the one way, you can switch it around the other, for example. Some people like it when they pull back on the joystick, I do too, that your nose goes up because you're pulling back. And some people go, no, I want to move down. And therefore they want to have the inverse. And so it's a personal preference. So those were the new things that I have introduced. The lighting system was the bigger thing. Now, currently there's an upper limitation that's set into the system at 120 simultaneous lights, partially because for every light that's in the system, it exponentially slows down the rendering process because it's just how the lighting calculations work in modern shaders. Modern hardware, however, can handle 128 lights for the most part. I mean, if you went a few years ago, the best it could handle is maybe 64. Now, the intention is, you always heard me talk about like volume tiled forest shading. That's to alleviate the light limit in a realistic way, so you can have millions of lights effectively. I have not implemented that yet, but there was no way of testing that until the lighting system was actually in existence. It now is. So, does anybody have any suggestions for additional lights? Now, there's some stuff I'm going to be doing for the RTS side of things that will help make it not quite as dry in there, and we'll definitely improve that. But for the fighting stuff, what do people think so far?
Should the ship thrusters have lights?
Ship thrusters will have lights. That's the next thing I'm putting in, actually.
Cool.
So each thruster will have it be its own light source. The intention, which I have not done yet, is these buildings are kind of sitting there. What's going to happen is they're going to have running lights. They're going to have spotlights, searchlights and stuff like that running on them. So even though right now they're just kind of sitting there doing nothing, you will see everything around them light up based on the lighting that we arbitrarily put on it, whether it be Paul or the other artist or myself or whoever decides to put on both the ships as well as the buildings. So right now they're just kind of lit up by the sun, or if you put a beam across them. But imagine having, you have a reactor here. We're going to put like a little flashing white light at the top, like you would expect any other tower to have. Have some running lights on the ships themselves. Have some searchlights on the factory, maybe at different parts of the different individual different buildings, like the warehouse or the factory or the research center, etc. I can even, just for funsies, put a slow glow inside of these radar dishes on the research building, so it looks like it's doing something in there, if you know what I mean. That's the idea, is trying to make these things much more than just static targets. They'll start to sort of become more alive, if you will. I've written a new program called like the ship shader, which allows us to add these kind of special effects. I'm still writing that up now. I've been spending most of last week trying to get shadows running, and I got 80% of it running, but the last bit just seems to be eluding me. I'm following lots of online tutorials how to do it, and it's not working. And it's annoying the hell out of me, and it shouldn't be as hard as it is, but it's being that way. But it will eventually be there anyway. But I want to get other things in first. So over the next several revisions, you'll see some visual improvements on both the ships and the buildings in the sense of having their own lighting in a continuous way. So that's coming. Ogre, since you're in one of the newer fighters that Adam put together, unfortunately it's not, I think because of the bug that was introduced earlier, it may not actually be a test. But I want you to direct me, have me pick a target, and then basically get a kind of a look and feel how long it takes for us to blow through a building. All right?
Alrighty.
So have me fire a weapon at a target, and I'll heal it, and then I'll use that as a target, and we'll figure out what we want to kill. All right? Okay, so you want the warehouse then?
Yep, let's try that first.
All right, let me get the damage system up. Right now, the damage on the buildings is actually set pretty obnoxiously low for anybody on the network. That's what that bug that I was fixing would fix. So what I have here is more accurate as far as damage goes. Here, let me. So Ogre, let's see how quickly you go through this building to show the viewers how quick this is. I mean, to the point of blowing it up. So let me.
You know, but like the thing again, where it's drifting. So.
Oh, okay. Boom. Okay. Is it drifting again? Oh, you have to recalibrate it?
I tried. It still has a little bit of drift.
Okay. We'll have to get you a better joystick.
Yeah, but we gotta figure out. We should see if it's doing it. We should probably get the other cheap joysticks and test them too.
That's probably true. Did you actually ever hit the tilde and so it's the mouse at all that might be drifting?
I just hit the tilde and now I'm spinning real fast.
Alright, so that isn't it.
Yep.
Alright, well, I had to ask for obvious reasons.
Yeah. I couldn't remember, so I did it. And well.
Now, there is a slight drift because of gravity. I still haven't fixed that in the gravitational equations.
This is the same drift down to the left that I've always had.
Okay. Well, then I want to kind of time this. So, Ogre, please using your beams, see how long it takes you to kill the building, then I'll do the same testing.
Actually, give me 1 second.
Sure. Alright, let's see how long it takes me to kill it. So if I go 1, 1,000, 2, 1,000, 3, 1,000, 4, 1,000, 5, 1,000, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, I'm drifting, 11, 12. Ironically, the outside armor is cut through pretty quickly. The inside hit points is pretty high. So when I fire, it's... Now, mind you, no one's shooting at me. There's no turrets trying to come after me, etc. I'm just taking a pot shot at the back of it. So, if I'm doing 1, 2, 3, I'm not sure if I'm doing that amateur. 1, 2, 3. And it only took me 3 seconds to get through the armor. Now, in comparison, if I went and did that to a reactor, let's say. There's that one. And to get through its plating is 1, 2, 3, 4. I don't think I'm doing any damage here. Oh, there we go. Alright. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Alright, that's negating the test. Hold on. Unfortunately, seems to be the nature of the model. some models you can concentrate a lot on and get through very quickly, and others you really have a harder time. So the reactor is taking a while for me to get through. So the question then becomes, how long, and obviously each of these models are going to be tweaked a little bit for the armor, how long it will take to, should it take to blow through. Adam, how much do you think is appropriate for a building that's T0 against T0?
Means sustained fire.
Yeah, and of course I forgot I can't just hold down the fire button because I don't have that. That's the other thing. I got to pay attention to how much is in my weapons, or else it's not really doing any damage anyway. So if I hold this down and I run out of power, which is where I am right now, it's not really doing anything. That's why I wasn't really doing anything before. I have to wait till it recharges and then I can fire it again.
Yeah, I'd say between 10 and 40 seconds. Like if you have quad weapons, 10 seconds. If you have two dual weapons, like 20-ish.
Mm-hmm.
If you're just trying to kill just a single weapon, like up to 40 seconds.
Okay. Now, Ogre, what is your opinion?
I think it should probably be a little shorter than that, actually. Just because, like, it also, well, okay, let's take a step back. Is the pool of hit points inside going to be the same? It's like, it depends on if it's hit point damage or if it's armor damage.
Well, I'm cutting through the armor pretty quickly, and then when it gets to the hit points inside, because it's set up so disproportionately.
Look at that same reactor. This is more realistically what you're going to be doing.
Okay. Yeah, you're going to be strafing it all over the place. I agree with you.
So especially if you up the armor, and it's going to be almost impossible to blow up a building. I'm saying under these conditions, it should take less time than that.
Right. I mean, I agree in the sense of that if you're just doing a strafing run, Adam had pretty much mentioned to me that if you're just doing a strafing run, building should be pretty impossible to kill. You really have to sort of wail on it to have it do its thing.
But that's the point. Doing a strafing run, you're gonna have to wail on it. Like it's beyond what I would think would make sense.
Okay.
If you want to, unless you just want to make it impossible for people to blow up buildings effectively.
Well, here's the thing.
During normal, like, sitting here conditions, yeah, you can blow them up.
Yeah.
Obviously, it takes a lot less time for me because of the you were talking about the code, the patch that you need to unpatch.
Yeah.
But, like, for you, like, you have to sit there for how long to take out any potential defenses by blowing up the reactor so that their turrets aren't firing at you while they're firing at you the whole time?
Well, that's the whole thing. Turrets will be much more poppable because they're much smaller buildings.
But also they can be popped back up, and then fighters can come in. Like, you're basically, if you have to sit there for, let's see, these have 2, so 20 seconds.
Mm-hmm.
Sitting here for 20 seconds just hammering on the same spot to blow up the building. You're very vulnerable while you're doing that.
I think the idea is, while the tactic of, okay, let's just take out the reactor is a thing, that the idea here is that, okay, well, let's have it so that the reactor just really isn't that vulnerable to a strafing shot, that you really should have to take out their turrets and such like that.
There's a higher tier of reactor that's specifically an armored reactor.
That's true, too. And this isn't even the armored reactor.
Right, so perhaps these initial reactors should not take quite that much wooing.
Fair enough.
It comes back to what the design philosophy is.
Sure.
It's like, if you want them to not be blown up, then like 20 seconds for a dual weapon ship to take them out makes sense if you're trying to have, like, even uneven, not be able to take out the buildings without doing something like taking out all the turrets and all the enemy fighters first.
Keep in mind, you're also thinking of basically a single fighter. But basically, the idea is you're supposed to be having squads, if not fleets of fighters, shooting at things. So, like, once you basically have the defenses up on a base down, if you have a squad of fighters all going at it, it's not going to take that long to take them out. And also, the other thing is missiles. Missiles deliver a lot of damage. in tiny areas. So basically, missiles are going to be basically the real killer. They're going to be what you use to punch buildings, even when they're defended. If you have a bunch of basically decent missiles, you basically stand back, target a building, play keep away, and just fire missiles until the building's gone, without even getting into basically the danger of getting close to the base too much.
A
So
problem.
that's the way you're going to basically want to basically attack. Basically, if you want to do like a strafing run effectively and just pop a reactor, you want to get a bunch of missile boats and try it that way, not trying to basically get really close with lasers.
I'll be honest. Over time, as we've done more adjustments, the lasers have started to become more and more lackluster. Like the only reason I use them at all in these playtest sessions is simply because we don't have the reload function yet from the factory.
Well, that's what I was saying about the actual missiles and stuff like that. Okay, fine, you use a missile boat, but someone's got to reload the hell out of those things, because I mean, you'll have enough to maybe blow up one building or two, not enough to take out the city, unless
Well,
you use.
part of what I was starting to try to get is like when Adam was like trying to fire across your nose, a stray shot took out your engine repeatedly. I was up with the old, laser for fun, just kind of shot Adam right in the ass at one point. I don't even think he noticed.
Because he was also still on the old armor. The pulses, he's on the pulse gun. And that's still the old stuff. So those two were comparable to each other.
Okay.
So him shooting you and you shooting him, you were actually pretty balanced. That's the point. He's not in the new system. Meaning he's running with the older design. Therefore, the older, higher armor. So shooting him in the ass didn't do that much and shouldn't have. You shooting me now will just take me out.
Alright, well, I want to test that actually.
Okay.
Just because over time it seems like the missiles, lasers do less and less.
Well, I mean, and that can easily be adjusted, and they should be comparable weapons to everything else. As a general rule, the DPS of lasers should be double that of pulses because they do have a tendency of having their damage spread out so much. And that's just a rule of thumb, that's not necessarily.
You, possibly.
Hello, I'm the one spinning in the middle. I see you firing, I don't know if you're not hitting me at all.
No, he's hitting me.
Yeah, you're hitting the wrong well, okay.
But even still, like, that took a lot to take out an engine.
Alright, I'm up here, I'm the guy shooting, so take a pot shot at me.
Jordan, you were probably also hitting the ground, too.
Yeah. Alright, you already destroyed my engine. Okay, I'm already falling.
I withdraw the comment.
I'm going, I'm falling!
Just over time, I've always felt like the autocannons are way better for actually getting damage on your hits. The lasers have always felt really weak, even back when we were doing the fleet fighting days.
Well, I mean, that's always been true. That's why I've always encouraged having them make the beams twice as much damage, because a pulse or a missile is delivering all their damage at once, which is the way the game mechanics work that actually punches through things. Whereas beams, it's like holding your hand over a candle. And while it's far easier to hit, you don't have the same kind of thing. So, for example, let's go. Here you, Jordan. Now, I'm in with my older or newer beam weapons, so they're doing a hell of a lot less damage, right? So now I'm going to try to take out your stuff. And I'm having a hard time taking you down. Alright. I am shoving my beams through your posterior, and you're taking damage, but your internals are not really taking much. I mean, you're starting to glow different colors, and yay, but, you're getting perfectly tanned. But you see how bad it is for me to get anywhere on you. Whereas you're doing, like, very slight to me, and, yeah, you didn't even hold down the fire key. So, let me restore that for a second. Oops.
But that was the point of testing. I was trying to see, like, what's the equivalent of those glancing shots with the autocannon.
Right. So, alright, I'm facing you, take me on right now. I'm not going to fire at you. See how quickly you can take me down. Alright, that your first volley took out my engines in the beginning.
Alright, well, I feel corrected then. But then again, these are also later tier weapons.
Well, they weren't originally. They were supposed to be normal tier weapons that, just because the power rebalancing, that they're obnoxiously powerful in comparison. As you say, in the current way of thinking, they're like between tier 4 and 5 weapons now. Versus before, I think it was tier 1 maybe? Maybe tier 2? and that's just so drastically different now. Like I said, balancing on this game has always been its own nightmare, and we still are trying to get that baseline. And I'm glad we're having a good discussion about it.
There's a note. It is 4:45. So is there anything else we want to demonstrate?
Demonstration-wise, not really. That's kind of what I had over the last 2 weeks. I mean,
Okay.
what does everybody feel about the new lighting system?
It's actually genuinely pretty cool.
Okay. Do you think we're finally getting to the point where people actually will appreciate what this thing looks like rather than saying the graphics are crap?
I think if we continue in this direction.
Nicely put.
I think objectively, it's hands and above where it was before.
Okay.
So
But it's not
taking
where it
that
needs to be. I'm well aware of that.
Yeah, exactly.
So the next thing is to put engine flare in, hopefully some more goodies in the nav screen, and putting lights around um, the different buildings and on the ships themselves. At a certain point, the light count's going to get completely ridiculous. Without the VTFS, it's going to make the system crawl. Now, the way the current system is built is this first come first serve. So as you turn on and off the different light sources, something else will grab the slot, if you will, and that's how it works. So it's kind of a universal pull, if you will. So right now there's not many of us, we're not in a firefight, etc. So we're not tapping in on that very much. Once you get into a really wacky skirmish, that light count's going to go up really quick. You know, right now it doesn't matter, but it's going to be a thing. So it won't, put the game to a terminal position because of the upper cap. It'll just ignore the light request. But what will happen is, people want to see it. And until I get the VTFS in, they won't see millions of lights doing their thing because limitation. And for those who don't know what the hell VTFS is, it's volume tiled forward shading, which I've been yanking about for months now. The idea is, imagine this entire screen turned into a grid, and so the lighting only matters per square, or per cube technically. And so within a cube, you're not going to have a million lights, but you can have lights spread out across this entire landscape that could be a million lights, but in that cube, you're only going to account for maybe 4 or 5 lights. So as I'm firing past Jordan, for example, on my screen, I see him lighting up, but where I am, I'm also lighting up, but that's it. That's 2 light sources. It's not reaching that ridiculously critical level of a few hundred, let alone a few thousand or tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands. When you have an entire battlefield going crazy, sorry about that, then you can get those kind of light sources, but again, you are not going to see it. They're going to be far away. They're going to be left side of the screen, right side of the screen behind you, so they won't even be there, that kind of thing. And that's where this comes into play of making it viable. So, as much as shadows are a thing and I think are important, I think having everything in their brother having lights is going to make a big deal of difference. Do we want to play through something and see whether or not we have the crashing that we were mentioning before? Did we want to restart the server and have enemies? Do you want to cut it here, or what do you guys want to do?
I think this might be a good point to wrap up for the week.
Okay, that's fine. What's everybody else's opinion? Same?
Yeah, that works.
All right. Well, Ogre, I hope you liked your present as much as it was.
It's quite nice.
Yeah. So, obviously, any other suggestions as far as lighting stuff goes? Like I said, the current engine supports point lights, beam lights, meaning a line light, as you're seeing the beams do, spotlights, which will have decals on ships and stuff like that, and searchlights is another thing, which is still spotlights, which is on the side. What else am I missing? And yeah, I think that's about it. Point light, distant light, spotlight, which is a cone, and a line light, which is what this is. That's what I have written in now. And the decal stuff is a derivation, and you'll see that in action when I do the other enhancements I intend to do. Okay, well, since people are saying we'll cut it right here, I guess that's what we'll do. I thank everybody for joining us. I guess tune in 2 weeks. And what date will that be? If it's the 15th, 2 weeks, that's right before New Year's.
Yep.
So that's going to be a thing.
29th.
So I'm going to kill the server. And we'll switch back to this. Well, I hope everybody thought this was educational. I thought it was kind of fun. And I guess we'll talk to everybody later. All right. I'll stop the streaming then.